Hello, I am Mr. Cup. My name is Gregory Hayward, and you will come to see that this is a very important name. If you have watched my videos, you will know that I am embroiled in the Thousand Years' War. This is a war that I started, and it is unlike nothing that has gone on before. It is a war of knowledge that will provide answers that are for the good of humankind, that are not for the good of humankind. It will set people free and allow all humankind to escape from its current, highly oppressive existence. In this video, I'm going to expand on a number of themes that I have already begun to introduce to you. I'm going to call upon the textbook of everything, the Holy Bible, to help us disclose that one of the most fundamental features of our life is flawed and is corrupting our understanding of our existence. Humans are fixed in a closed loop of perception. The senses that we use to perceive our world are the same instrument that we use to encode it. However, these senses are lying to us. In other words, we are deceiving ourselves and we are limiting our ability to understand the full extent of our existence. So far, humankind has merely whimpered into existence, beguiled by a great deception. Right, let me explain. In everything that we do, we are governed by the capacity to sense the world in which we live. Hence, the senses of seeing, hearing, taste, touch and smell help humans to define everything that exists in our world. The consensus is that our senses act as encoders for all aspects of our environment, and humans utilize a number of functions, technically called cognitive reasoning, to understand the code and hence provide all meaning for the world and beyond that we live in. The challenge here is that everything that we use to understand our existence is also the same mechanism that provides us with this understanding. In other words, the senses we use to perceive our world are also the instruments that encode it. This is known as a closed loop of perception, or, as one scholar put it, information flows between the environment, sense organs and the brain in a continuous loop with no clear beginning or end. So, for example, if we touch a rock, the rock feels hard. But the rock only feels hard because our senses tell us that. It is a rock, and a rock is hard. In truth, we don't ever really know if the rock does exist or not. Now, that gets a bit mind-bending, but the important thing here is that if the fundamental rules are incorrect, then it follows that our reasoning is distorted. Hence, humankind will be the subject of extreme and absolute deception. The most prolific deceiver in the human life is the devil. The devil is the personification of evil as it is conceived in various cultures and religious traditions. The devil is portrayed in many guises and usually as a beast with horns. The caricatures are endless. In Christianity, evil is embodied in the devil or Satan, who is the primary opponent of God. Christianity describes Satan as a fallen angel who terrorizes the world through evil. He is the antithesis of truth, and he shall be condemned to eternal fire at the last judgment. In mainstream Christianity, the devil is also referred to as Satan and is traditionally identified as the serpent that convinced Eve to eat the forbidden fruit. Additionally, in the book of Revelation, in the Bible, the devil is identified as the dragon and the old serpent. He is described as hating all humanity, or more accurately, creation, opposing God, spreading lies and wreaking havoc on their souls. In Islam, Iblis is the proper name of the devil, and God granted him a request to lead humanity astray. Knowing the righteous will resist Iblis's attempt to misguide them, God allowed the devil to seduce humanity. Interestingly, other religions, such as the Baha'i faith, do not see a malevolent superhuman entity such as the devil or Satan. These names do exist, but they are metaphors for the lower nature of man. Those who follow their lower nature are also described as followers of the evil one. Here, the devil is seen to be inherent in humans as opposed to an external entity. So, what is the connection? The theme so far is that of deception. That is, that our senses may be deceiving us, and that the great deceiver in the human social sphere is the devil. The question is, how are these two connected? The origination of the devil is famously found in the beginning of the Holy Bible, when he is introduced in the form of the serpent and he beguiles Eve. The serpent enters at the beginning of the Bible in chapter 3 of Genesis. The first 3 verses of that chapter read as follows. Verse 1. Now the serpent was more subtle than any beast of the field, which the Lord God had made. And he said unto the woman, Yea, hath God said, Ye shall not eat of every tree of the garden? And the woman said unto the serpent, We may eat of the fruit of the trees of the garden. But of the fruit of the tree which is in the midst of the garden, God hath said, Ye shall not eat of it, neither yet shall ye touch it, lest ye die. In these verses, note that Eve has said that God has denied them from eating the sense of taste and touching the sense of touch, the tree which is in the midst of the garden. However, this is not what God had actually said to Eve. Earlier, in chapter 2 of Genesis, this is what God had said to Eve. Verse 16, And the Lord God commanded the man, saying, Of every tree of the garden thou mayest freely eat, but of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil thou shalt not eat of it, for in the day that thou hast eat thereof thou shalt surely die. Hence, God refers to a different tree. Eve refers to the tree which is in the midst of the garden, whilst God refers to the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. You may wonder why this matters. After all, there are many trees in our world. However, at the beginning of chapter 2 in Genesis, God clearly defines the 3 types of trees that exist in the Garden of Eden. Verse 9 reads, And out of the ground made the Lord God to grow every tree that is pleasant to the sight, and good for food, the tree of life also in the midst of the garden, and the tree of knowledge of good and evil. Hence Eve recalls the incorrect tree when she speaks to the serpent. Equally relevant here is that God only mentions the act of eating, which represents the sense of taste, as in the famous eating of the apple from the tree. However, Eve recounts the sense of eating and touch when she recounts her instructions from God to the serpent. So, what is the deception and why? Eve recounts the incorrect tree and 2 human senses, touch and taste, as opposed to God's reference to only one taste. Hence, something is wrong. Either Eve has poor memory or she is lying. The answer to this may be found in the first sentence of chapter 3, when it says, Now the serpent was more subtle than any beast of the field which the Lord God had made. The beasts of the field represent the external living creatures and their inherent evil behaviours in the environment of humankind. However, the serpent is more subtle because he is less visible and hidden. He is not a part of the external living creatures, but instead he is inherent, that is, he is hidden within Eve. The serpent represents the internal evil within Eve. This evil is the deception that lies within. Therefore, Eve does not suffer from poor memory. Eve suffers from a deception that she is unaware of. The devil, Satan, the serpent and the dragon, they do not exist in the human environment. They exist within humans, deceiving us and creating a deception of the environment in which we live. A deception of our senses. A deception that means that our senses are lying to us. The devil, the serpent, is this deception. That is, our senses are lying to us and we are in denial of this, or at best, unaware. The fact that the serpent is revealed in the act of deceit infers an act of wrongdoing. We perceive that all that is wrong with our existence is governed by an external force, that is, the devil. In other words, we absolve ourselves from all responsibility with our world and blame the devil, elaborated and brought to life as an external, red-skinned fiend for all the bad that we do. So, what does this mean for humankind? Well, it means quite a lot. It means that the world that we think that we know is not quite as it seems. For me, I know that apples do not fall from trees. Humans did not evolve from apes or any other animal, and that this and many more basic principles that are commonly believed to be true in the human social sphere are interesting. If they do not happen, then what is really going on? Are our eyes deceiving us when we see an apple fall from a tree? To answer this, consider the very beginning of the creation event and the brilliantly famous words that started human existence. And God said, "Let there be light." The ability to perceive light is achieved through our sense of sight, and if our senses are lying to us, then the observable social sphere of humankind is a deception. In truth, Einstein's laws and theories of relativity are, in the main, brilliantly correct. They measure a distorted existence. In actual fact, it is an existence which is a compounded, distorted denial of a much greater alternative. That alternative is known to humankind as quantum mechanics. These are two very distinct forms of existence. The first is a distortion. The second is, well, for now, let me just say this. Quantum mechanics cannot and does not need to be unified with relativity. The world that humans currently call a quantum existence is wholly independent. And it is a hugely exciting existence given to absolute choice and a spectrum of features that are not currently known to man. But they soon will be. You will not be disappointed. On a somber note, but extremely important here, is the process of human death. As my mother lay on her bed in the final days of her life, I asked the nurses how long she had left. They told me that the process of dying was clear. Basically, a sequence begins in which the senses start to shut down. It may be the sense of taste at first, or maybe the sight. However, whatever the order, when all of the 5 senses are shut down, the process of death is complete. What is highly interesting here is that when you understand the underlying principle of existence, you know that death is impossible. So if death is impossible, what does happen? Well, this is for another video. Right now, the world that we know as humans is a world in which our senses are lying to us. Hence, all people are being deceived. All people. Our existence was distorted at the time of its creation, and the deception was born from this. Now, next, we must understand what happened and why. Also, given this insight, what are the repercussions and consequences for people? Equally, how can this be fixed? And can we fix it? All of this is to come, and the answers will be given in subsequent videos. The only language I speak is the truth. There is a lot to say. Keep watching Mr. K.